All right, on this Garlic Marketing Show, we're going to talk about AI and ads for attorneys, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what could be really bad. We're going to talk about if lawyers are spending too much time prompting and who they should be prompting, the best lead sources, the worst lead sources with Brian Glass, attorney, amazing marketer, author of Renegade Lawyer Marketing. Brian, say hi.
Hey, bye.
And we're going to talk about the one thing you're doing that you should that you're not doing that you should be. How they got 250K in return from 750 in ad spend. The one type of ad that they did, it's not digital. How AI can erode trust. How Brian's using AI in his law firm. His AI prompt for their letters, which is really good. And the number one thing you can do when you're going to legal marketing or any legal summit. All this on the Garlic Marketing Show. But of course, this is brought to you by videocasestory.com. One of the best things you can do to build trust is build an invisible pipeline for your cases. Go to videocasestory.com/invisible to learn how you can grow invisible pipeline for your business. All right, let's get started.
My name is Gino Wickman. I was introduced to Ian, and that's what brought me into this video world and got me embracing this video world. And Ian did exactly what I hoped. He got me really comfortable with putting videos out to the world and having a great strategy around putting videos out to the world, because there's so much more than just shooting a video. And so the way that he positions those videos, optimizes those videos, he's done a great job.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about these Case Connect ads, because I saw you post about them. I haven't seen anything about them. And I'm like, I want to talk about this because I think it's important for people, especially attorneys, to know about them.
So if you're not an injury lawyer, you probably have never seen these things, right? I mean, just like you haven't. I must have at some place in my Google history clicked on something that got me pixeled. And now I see these ads on my Instagram and my Facebook all the time. And if you've seen one, you've seen a dozen of them. But it's some version of somebody like running downstairs with the check, claiming that it's a settlement check and claiming that they got it because they had filled out a questionnaire on the opt-in page for this ad, right?
Yeah.
And the other version of this thing is something like, hey, there's a new compensation program in Utah that helps out accident victims fill out this form, right? And the really curious thing about this, Ian, is all of the ad copy talks about how the payoff will be an AI calculator that'll tell you what your case is worth, and it'll deliver the result to you for free, and you won't need a greedy lawyer, right? But then what happens when you fill out the form like I do? You get called by a law firm and then pitched by a law firm, right? So on the other end, they must be flipping these leads and selling them to law firms. And I think the post that triggered you to connect with me was like, there's this huge disconnect, and I don't understand how lawyers are actually buying these leads, because they're people who are being told you don't need a lawyer. In fact, lawyers are greedy, and it can all be done for you in 30 seconds with the help of AI.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, because people react to AI, as we were talking about before the show, AI different and have a different mindset when they know it's AI. It's funny because I was actually driving back from like North Carolina, and I stopped at a fast food restaurant that had an AI, and I walked in and they had an AI attendant. And like, so it was getting the food and getting the orders, and you could hear the difference in people's voices speaking to the AI. Like, they would say whatever they thought, they would do whatever they think. And I think that there's a huge disconnect there. There's a huge disconnect.
How as a user experience, how did the AI whatever vary from like the McDonald's where they have the touch screen?
Well, so the AI was like, was on the voice, and it was like,
Oh,
they were in the drive-through. Sorry, they were in the drive-through, and I was inside, and I could hear the drive-through, and it was a voice like, "Do you want a drink?" "No, I don't want to drink." "Are you sure you don't want to drink?" The person's like, "I don't want to drink."
operator.
Representative. Yeah. So, but it's got to affect the relationship then when an attorney calls them, right? I mean, that's because I think that's what people fail to realize so much is the marketing is building the relationship.
Yes.
And
Well,
yeah,
there's so much in our space, marketing and voice reception and medical records chronology, and there's so much stuff that claims to be AI, but I don't think like actually is. It's like if you just white label some technology, slap the words AI onto it, you could charge 30% more for the product that you already had, right? That seems to be what's going on cynically in the law firm space. When it's done well, if voice reception is ever done well, AI is going to kick the shit out of any call center, right?
Yep.
Because done well, it's answering the user's problem. It's learning from tens of thousands of other phone calls that it has done about what kind of cases we like, what kind of cases we don't like. It's really going down the algorithmic decision tree of should I take this case or not, in a way that takes lawyers 8 or 10 years to figure out. And then, by the way, we go and we hire intake people and we expect them to be good at it in 6 months. The AI bot is going to be, if it's ever done well, it's going to be amazing at this. But what I tell people is, the real payoff in the automation is the time and the mental energy that it frees up for you to go and work on the individual relationship stuff, right? If I can automate all of the tasks and the task flow that goes on in my law firm, I can spend more time doing what the AI bots cannot and generating real relationships with people.
I love that. Because I think everyone's trying to flip out and have the AI build the relationship and then do the busy work, right? Like, well, I'm going to have AI do everything around talking to people, and I'm just going to go shuffle papers around.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I'm going to go sit on the beach.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the dream.
Yeah, and if lawyers spend as much time like figuring out how to prompt their employees as they do figuring out how to prompt ChatGPT, you wouldn't have a business that you complain about all the time, right? But we don't like having actually those individual one-on-one conversations and delegating and holding people accountable. But it's way easier to get that instant feedback loop from talking to the AI bot, and it either goes and it does what you wanted it to do, or it doesn't.
Yeah. Or it goes and does what you think you wanted to do, and it does something that's completely wrong, and you
Yeah.
don't know it. And I've seen that too, where people are like, "Oh, look at the AI did this." I'm like, "This is horrible."
Well, yeah, and at this point there's 8 or 9 or 10 lawyers that have asked ChatGPT or some AI thing to write a brief for them, and it hallucinates cases, made up cases, and they never went back and looked for them. They get filed, and they all get sanctioned by the court. And like, dude, I understand being the first to the third lawyer who gets caught with this, but now we're like 10 lawyers in,
I know.
with just made up cases like invented out of thin air, and there's all of these orders that have come out from courts saying, why don't you come in and tell me exactly how we found this China Airlines case that doesn't exist in the books that we have.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's a whole nother show. I mean, we'll probably do it on True Law Stories, but we did a bar training for the Florida bar, and it was actually attorneys reenacting that, and you could see the attorneys getting visibly upset, acting as the people that were doing this stuff and putting fake cases in, because we had a real judge who was, and it's crazy. And like, you would think that like you said, it's one of the worst things you could do, right? It's you're pretty much making stuff up and giving it to the court.
Yeah, it's a total lack of care and lack of review of what the documents are. And again, like the first through the third lawyer, I think, can be forgiven for thinking that the machine was actually going to not make up cases. But we're a year and a half, I think, probably after the first guy has gotten caught, and people are still getting caught.
Yeah, and bringing this back to the case connect and AI and building the relationship, and choosing the lead source. Like because you're in a unique position because you're helping other attorneys with you guys have an amazing mastermind, amazing group. And they have, by the way, the it's the Great Legal Marketing Summit, right? Correct, coming up.
Yep.
And we'll put a link to that in the show notes. And he has a amazing book, Renegade Lawyer Marketing. We'll put a link to that show. You can get it for free. So you have this vantage point of both sides because you're using the stuff and also you're helping other attorneys. When you go to tell people, hey, should be a lead source for you or should not be a lead source, this is what you should be allowing AI and what you shouldn't, what are the factors that you're looking at?
Yeah. So The best lead sources for us are people that come referred by actual human beings, right? Because you hardly have to sell them at all. If you've heard my name in one or two or three other places, then I really don't have to do very much to convince you to hire me as a client. The worst lead sources are the ones who have done, one Google search, clicked on the first result, and have called that first result, because there's no trust in you. They're not calling you because they think that you're a great lawyer because they've done any research. They're calling you because you showed up first. And so those people convert, number one, at a much lower rate. And then number two, they tend to trust you at a lower rate than the people who have been told by two or three friends that you're actually really smart and really good at what you do. So you have to build more trust, and it takes a little bit longer for the people who have found you and viewed you as a commodity on the front end. But those really are it's the easiest kind of lead source to throw money at and acquire more of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can buy LSAs, you can buy PPC, you can make the phone ring that way, but they convert lower. And so, and you could buy lead generation, right? And we test it every once in a while, and we have a campaign going on right now where we're running some non-branded ad. It generates a phone call. The company does a screening of that client, and then they transfer it to us. And we, every couple of years we test this and see if they're good lead sources, see if anything in the market has changed. And they tend to be lower quality cases. They tend to be less educated people, less educated callers, because they haven't actually done any research. The only distinguishing characteristic about the reason they called you is you showed up first.
Yes. Yeah. And because it's something I discuss across every professional industry. And I think this is important for people to realize it's not just getting the call, it's the quality of the client and also their belief in your ability to do the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because it affects the outcome if they don't believe you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it affects the outcome if they don't believe you. Yes, they become the kinds of clients that make you want to quit your job if they don't believe.
Yeah.
And especially in a contingency fee practice, which mine is, right? We make money working cases more efficiently. If you don't believe me, and I have to have 5 conversations with you to get you, to the value, but the value hasn't increased when my hourly rate went down, right? If I were
Yeah.
billing you as a family lawyer or a business lawyer, maybe that incentive
That's fine, right?
structure is a little bit different. But you told me probably about a year ago now, you came to our mastermind and you spoke, and you had this line: your 100K clients are lurkers, right? They're the people they don't interact with any YouTube, they don't like your Facebook page, but they've consumed 7 to 10 to 20 hours of your content before they've called you. Why? Because the people with big problems are actually doing their research, right? People who are finding you on Google or finding you through lead generation, they tend to be the people that are 24, 48 hours after the crash. And you have to do a lot more hand holding and figuring out, like, is this case real or is this bullshit? Like, are you
Yeah.
calling me because this, what you do after a car crash is you call a lawyer and then the lawyer tells you where to go get medical care. That's really not the way that my firm is built. There are firms that are built that way. We're built to, you have a big problem, you've decided you can't solve it on your own, and you're looking for the law firm that can pull a couple of levers and solve the problem for you. And those are the 100K clients. And those are people that consume, my podcast or YouTube channel, social media, and they don't follow you, but they'll tell you that they've seen you everywhere when you try to dig down to that attribution and say, well, how did you get in touch with me? Well, I watched every video that you have,
Yes. And this is an important part that I'm glad you said that, because I'm trying to get this across to people. It's like, it's tough with those big clients because you want the attribution. You want to know that they clicked on a Google ad and came to you, but they need to go on their journey, don't they? They need to do their research. They need to see you everywhere before calling you, because they need to feel like they trust you. And then they're easier clients to work with in the end. And like you said, because with you all, even though it's not just convincing them to work with you, it's also convincing them to do the things they need, right? Get the help, get the care, go to the doctor, make this phone call, get this document.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to market to that too, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you have to convince them, hey, we need to use your insurance for some things, right? Either your health insurance or your auto insurance. Hey, there's going to be things that are the exact opposite of what you believe, about how the system works, then I'm going to tell you that this is how the system works, and you need to believe me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we have clients who haven't gone through that funnel or haven't consumed very much, or relying on what their cousin's neighbor told them about their crash in a different state from 8 years ago, it's just a harder case to work on, both from an intellectual standpoint and from an emotional standpoint, because it's challenging. Like, you hired me,
Yeah.
you didn't need to, but you ought to listen to me.
Yes. Yes. And so, when you're looking at AI and like these lead sources, and you're coaching attorneys, and you're like, hey, the worst leads actually come from the easiest lead
Yeah.
sources, but some of the best leads come from these kind of amorphous group of everything that you do. How are you balancing that?
This is so hard, right? Because I've got
Yeah.
to convince you to actually get out and do some work. Like, your best leads will come from, again, referrals from live human beings, but it takes time and effort, but not very much money, it turns out, to get in front of people, be an interesting person, and be sticky enough that they remember you. So things that we've done is run a referral mailer campaign to all the chiropractors in the area to try to drive them to a lunch meeting. And once we do the lunch meeting, and they're still on our physical hard copy mail list, and they see us once a month, right? And I have a director of referral relationships whose job is to comb through their website, like figure out where they went to school, get a personalized gift for them that we send them. You do that 2 or 3 times, and you're going to start seeing cases show up. So we just ran these numbers. We've been running that referral campaign for about a year. It has resulted in 25 referred cases at an average value of, firm-wide, the average value is 18,000. For those cases, it's probably about 10,000. So $250,000 return on a mail sequence and 15 lunches. So
Wow.
all in, call it $2,500 plus staff time, right? 100x ROI. But you could pay a lead gen company $750 to make the phone ring. Or when we were running Google ads a couple of months ago, it was $450 to make the phone ring for a car crash case in Northern Virginia. That's the easy button,
Yeah.
and,
That's
and, and,
not
and
easy.
you have direct attribution, because I know exactly how much money I spent, and 60 days from now, I know exactly how many cases I signed.
Yes. And I do feel like there's so many of these, because because you see the Facebook ads. I know I see them too. And it's like AI or Facebook ads. We're going to get you, I get it from my company too. We're going to get you 250 leads. We're going to get you X leads. And, we're in a consultative business too. Or it's, if they're not the right leads and they're coming the wrong way, they're not good clients. But it's just like you said, it just feels like it's the easy button. And I guess from your standpoint, because what you're doing, the old school tactics, which you not old school, but the tried and true stuff, the Dan Kennedy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which, by the way, Dan Kennedy still one. I think still one of the best marketers out there, and he's going to be speaking at their summit, glmsummit.com. I highly suggest, if you're an attorney, you go check it out. It's in DC. But because how do you stay focused on the things that work? Because this is a tough one. Because I know I have to constantly redirect our clients, be like, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. Right? It's like slap your hand. But you're teaching people, and you're doing it for yourself. How do you stay focused on what works?
How do we stay focused on what's important? Well, helps that I now have a full-time referral relationship manager, right? Because it could be, and acknowledge that, like, that's not the case for most lawyers, right? Most lawyers, especially in consumer-facing practices like criminal defense or personal injury or family law, are spending the vast majority of their time lawyering, right? And if you're doing that, it's really hard to maintain the schedule of, who am I going to lunch with? Okay, if I want to have 2 referral networking lunches next week, how many invitations do I need to send out? When do I need to send them out? Right? Who's going to manage the follow up for those people? What are we going to do after that lunch? Like, it's really hard to manage all of that, and also practice law, and also process the payroll in your business and do the QuickBooks, and, like, most solo and small law firms, the owner is doing all of that stuff. And so how do you manage, how do you continue to do it? Like, I think you just have to be accountable to I want to have one. You can start with like one every other week, right? You don't have
Yeah.
to start with 4 a week. One every other week. All right. And then working backwards, who's my list of people that I want to invite out? Okay. And then you can get an EA or a VA to manage that list and manage that calendar for you. So that's kind of easy step. And on the back end of that, you want to have something that continues to show up for these people. We like a hard copy, physical mailed newsletter because
Yeah.
almost nobody else is doing it. And again, at the beginning, it's like, how am I going to create content for a physical mailed newsletter? We send out an 8-page letter every month now, and I write none of it for the newsletter. Right, the team goes in and they scrape stuff that I posted on LinkedIn, and that's my page. But the rest of it is generated by other people on the team who like contributing their personal stories to our newsletter.
Yeah.
Because it's going out to clients and they enjoy sharing that part to the life. So, but again, you don't have to start there. But figuring out what, if you believe me that your best clients are going to come from people who are personal referrals, then you need to figure out how you get more of those. And it can start with figuring out the list of people that have already sent you a case and how can I get those people, instead of sending me one case a year, to send me two. Right now we've doubled the number of good cases that are coming from referrals. And do that 2 or 3 times before you start expanding the list. Because going into the cold market and saying, hey, I'm a lawyer, one of, I don't know, 25 injury lawyers in Fairfax, and I want your business, right?
Yeah.
On a one-time transaction for a cold lunch, that's probably not going to happen. But you can build a reputation, start showing up, start putting the collateral out there into the market that people can see your name and go Google your name and, oh, God, that guy's everywhere. And then it's like a snowball rolling down a hill.
Love that. Yeah. And and it's important too, right? To be marketing to your referrals, right? Isn't it? I mean, I think that's where a lot of people don't realize is, well, this person came from referrals. I'm like, but they did look at all of your other stuff. They're not just walking in the door, because it's like everyone has their phone, right? And you've got 5 minutes in line, or you're in line at Disney World. You're looking up that referral.
Oh yeah, right. So don't mistake. Lawyers say, well, most of my cases come from referrals, and so I don't need digital presence. No, like, most people are getting 2 or 3 names at least, and they're looking up all of those names. And so even if you are a complete word of mouth lawyer, you need minimally viable product on your website. You should have videos on YouTube. And you should have some social media presence that is not just a Happy Memorial Day post once a year.
Yep. Yeah. No, I love this because it's stuff that works. Everyone goes for this thing that's like so far out there. Like, I'm going to get AI to do everything for me. I'm like, I'm talking with some of the absolute experts in AI, and they're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is the stuff that still works. And I think going forward with AI, this human connection is actually going to be more important. And like you said, if you can leverage the mechanics of it, but you can't leverage the connection, can you?
You can do a lot of cool stuff with AI. You can, I mean, there's that website, Hey Gen, where you can
Oh yeah,
upload 2 hours of your own video content, and then you can just type in a script and it'll create new videos for you, right? You could do that. All of that stuff, and it could do it in 13 different languages, right? All of a
yeah,
sudden, I'm a Spanish speaking lawyer through the magic of Hey Gen. But then what happens when some Spanish speaking person watches that video and calls, and the front desk and the phone is answered in English, and the one person in your office that speaks Spanish is out to lunch, right? There's an authenticity mismatch, and you lose trust with that. And so just because you look around and you have the capability to use all this technology, and because there is somebody in the market that's using every single piece of the technology, doesn't mean that you need to be the person who's using all of that, especially if you're starting from square one.
yes, exactly. So what coming back to AI, what are the ways that you're using it on a day-to-day basis?
So I use ChatGPT a lot. I use it as a thought partner for
Love that.
creating LinkedIn posts a lot. Hey, I have this idea. Here's a hook. I've got 2 examples and I want to flesh it out with the third. Give me some options for the third example, right? We use Opus Pro to chop up video and put automated subtitles onto it for short form content. What else do we use? We've experimented with a bunch of medical record chronology AI things, and none of them are very good because they have a hard time selecting what is and is not important in a case. I know that there are other ways that we're using. We're right after we get off this call, we're rolling out Filevine in our team, and Filevine has an AI feature that will summarize the case, and they have a sidebar thing now that I can query and say, tell me about this, this, and this in the case, and it'll act as your legal assistant and tell you the answer. At least that's the claim, right? I don't know whether or how good that product is. Off the top of my head, that's what we're using. I'm sure I'll get off this and be like, oh yeah, I use this other thing all the time, but that's what I can think of right now.
No, there's a lot. I mean, there's so many tools to use it, but I love that you said it's like a thought partner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one way that most people. I think that's one of the best things that people can do. That they're skipping ahead to, I'm going to make it right on my blog post for me. And I think that's a fantastic way in getting the habit of it.
Although, I mean, you could do that, right? One of the things that I've done is I took the Renegade Lawyer Marketing book and I uploaded the transcript to a GPT project. Is that to give it a knowledge base, both understanding the things that we say and how we say it. And so then when I have an idea, I'll go in and I'll say, hey, we're writing a sales email for our Great Legal Marketing Summit in this style, and incorporating some of the principles from Renegade Lawyer Marketing. Write me a pitch. What else do you need to know about this before you help me write this email? Oh, okay, I need to know the date. I need to know the time, like who's going to be there, and 3 other things. So you give it that information, and then it'll generate 5 emails for you. So there is a way to use it, but yeah, it's not write me a blog post about car crashes in Northern Virginia.
Yep.
Because then it doesn't come out in your voice.
Got to train it and I just think there's so much power, like in the strategic partnership, in the project management, and in research now with Perplexity, and learning things. It's amazing figuring out what snake is in your lake. I did that the other day.
That was not a metaphor.
No. That was not a metaphor. There was a snake, and I'm like, is this a poisonous snake? They're like, no, it's a fine snake. I'm like, cool, because I was just like pulling weeds out right there. Florida life. But this has been awesome. So let's talk real quick before you go. Tell me about the book and what's in it, and then let's talk about the summit.
So the book is Renegade Lawyer Marketing. I don't have it in front of me, or I would tell you the subtitle, but it's something like how solo and small law firm owners survive and thrive in the age of artificial intelligence, 800-pound gorillas, and something else. And so we were thinking about AI when we wrote this. And it really is a back to basics, how to market to referral sources, how to create grassroots community, and how to be an interesting person and contributing member of your community, and then how to use that to market your law firm. It's kind of everything that we've known, that we know from 40 years of building our firm here about how to stay relevant, agnostic of what the current digital marketing trends are.
Yes, nice. And we'll put a link to that because you have free plus shipping. You can get it for free. Just pay the shipping. RenegadeLawyerMarketing.com. There's a link in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's down below. And then you've got Dan Kennedy at the summit. Who other amazing speakers are you having at the summit?
Yeah, so we have an embarrassment of riches in the digital marketing space, because it turns out, as much as we say don't rely on digital marketing, consumers love digital marketing. So Jason Hennessy will be there. Conrad Som of Mockingbird Media will be there. Jay Berkowitz will be there. Jay does every year. He does this great legal marketing award show where he takes the websites and the Google local business profiles of all of the attendees, and he runs them through his own algorithm, and he ranks them and stacks them and gives out awards for people that are doing the best in certain areas. I suggested to him last year that he should have the SLAM awards, also the Shitty Lawyer Marketing Awards. He did not take me up on publicly presenting those, but he did give me a list afterwards. So those guys will be there. Mike DeLon, who is runs a company called Paperback Experts. Teach you how to write your first book, help you write your first book to build your authority in whatever your niche is, because that's the kind of stuff that we focus on. And then Kia Arian, who's a branding expert, will help you differentiate your law firm from every other law firm on the block.
Kia's awesome. She's been on the Garlic Marketing Show a few times. I love her. That's fantastic. So we'll put a link to the show notes. And what I'd love to is you've got implementation rooms there. Because there's so many of these summits I go to. I just went to the Driven Mastermind. I love them. They had an implementation next day. But if you don't have that implementation, right, you just go there and you're overwhelmed and you leave and you don't, or maybe you throw it at your team. That's fantastic too.
Yeah. So the number one thing that you can do if you're a lawyer and you're going to conferences and you're wondering why nothing is getting done, bring somebody else on your team with you. Because what happens is we go to 2 or 3 big shows a year and we come back with all these great ideas, but nobody else has heard them. And we're not good at translating them to the marketing director or to whoever your implementation person is. And then they just wait for you to get preoccupied with work or for you to go to another conference. And that's why nothing gets done year over year. So the number one thing that you can do is to pick up a guest ticket for somebody on your team and bring them with you.
I love that. Such great advice. And so we'll put a link to that in the show notes. It's in DC in October. Pretty time to be there. Brian Glass, thank you so much for being on the Garlic Marketing Show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And thank you all for taking Brian and I on your journey. This has been Iron Garlic and the Garlic